Hi and welcome back. In today's lesson we are going to talk about file handling. So what are the files? The files are pieces of information that the computer they use to store them, and we can reuse them later. Probably you are familiar with Windows File Explorer, and here I have a couple of files in this folder inside my desktop, temp, and a folder called test. So I have a Word file which is having this extension of docx, which is a Word file. I have a picture which is my dog photo, and it is stored as a PNG file, and I have a text file here also which is called myfile.txt. Now the txt files are text files, which means that you can write any information, any text information inside those files. And we can see here I have opened this my file here in a text-based notepad, the basic notepad of Microsoft Windows, and inside this file myfile.txt I have this information. Hello, this is my file. I'm storing student names underscore, a couple of student names and their score, and I have saved this. So this file is now saved inside my computer, and later on I can open this file and I can read and access this information. Now for GCSE we only need to work with this text file. We don't need to work with any other files. So a text file, we open them, we write inside them, and we read those files. That's all about the scope for the GCSE. So our programs are going to work with file handlers. Now for file handling which is a process of reading and writing to files in a program. So it allows data to be stored completely permanently rather than being lost inside our programs. So there are a couple of syntax and commands that we need to learn. The first one is how to create a new file. So for example, you want to store some information, but first of all you have to create a new file. So for creating a new file you use a command called new file. New file, then open parentheses, in double quote you put the file name. So over here I have something called students.txt. Close double bracket and close the parentheses. To write inside this file, to start writing, so you create this file, now you have to open it first. So we open the file using this command. So we need a variable for the file. We call it file just to make it easy. File is equal to open, in brackets, in parentheses, double bracket, the name of the file which we just created. If this file is already exists, you just need to put the name of the file. You don't need, if you have already created it before. As we said, the files are being stored permanently, right? So if you have already a file and the question is asking you that, open this file and start reading it, for example, you just open the file and start reading it. So you have to put the file name here. You open the file. So after you open the file, now you can read or write inside the file. So now let's say we just created this file and we are going to start writing something. So if I run this command for writing a line, one line information, like a print, like exactly the print that we are doing on the screen, we want to do it in the file, we have to call the file. So this file here, this is the same as this variable that we define here. So file.writeLine, then inside again open parentheses, double quote, then we put the string, whatever string you want. I'm just writing here James. So this writes one line and that's it, and then you close the file. So when you're done with writing into the file, and you call the file, and with dot close, open parentheses, close parentheses to close the file. To read from the file, again you have to open the file. Once you open the file, then you will do a file.readLine. So it will read one line from the file, and the pointer now it goes to the next line. So if you want to read all the contents of a file, you need to put the read line into a loop, and keep doing a read line. So every time you do the read line, the program runs a read line, it reads one line and it goes to the next line, waits for your loop to happen again to do another read line. Now to find out when you are reaching to the end of the file, we have something called file.endOfFile. So if you use this as a condition inside your while loop to read from the file, you can say while file.end of file, then start doing the file.read line. So this will do a complete read of the file, and you can print it, the content of the file on the screen, or you can do whatever you want. Similar to this, I have this example in a more modern way. So again, new file, it creates a file, opens the file with write line, you write something, first line, second line, and you close it. This is for creating and writing inside the file. Let's head to the code station and do a couple of basic example and also a more complicated example of reading and writing in the file. That will give you a better idea how to deal with the file handlers. All right, so let's do some tests with the file operation. Let's create a new file. So to create a new file, we use the command called new file, and let's create a file called students.txt. So this program will create this new file called student.txt, and I'm going to open this file first. So I have to open the file. So I will create a variable, or we call it also file handler, and it can be any name you like. So I will call it my underscore file equal to open. What to open? I'm going to open students.txt. Okay, so I opened the student.txt. Now I'm going to write something inside it. So what to write? Let's just make it very, very basic. So I'm going to write, I have to call my file dot write line. So what I'm going to write, this is the file for storing students student data. Okay, and what else do we write inside? Let's also write dot write line, and I say the first student, let's put Sarah, and we say score was 90, just as an example. Now my job with opening and writing 2 lines in this file is done. So now I want to save it and I want to close it. So to close the file and save it, I have to call my file dot close. Okay, so if I run this, it will not show you anything because I didn't print anything on the screen, but I can open the file, I can open it, and I can start reading from this file, read the lines and show you what is in each line. So so this part of the program creates a file and opens it and writes inside the file. Now I'm going to put another part of this program to read the file. So again, so now the file is already created. I open the file again. Okay, so this part is for creating the file, creating and writing inside the file. Please excuse my typing, I'm not very good in typing. Creating and writing inside the file, and here I'm going to opening and reading the file. So I'm opening the file again. I can use the same my file, or I can call it my file 2, whatever it is you like. So let's call it my file 2. So open the students.txt. Now I'm going to write my file 2 dot read line. So read 1 line from this. That's it. So it reads one line. Now I have to store it somewhere, or I can print it. So I can just print it on the screen. Print this my file dot read line. And then I'm going to close this file. So my file 2 dot close. Now let's run this now. So what is printed? This is the file for storing information, student data, right? So the only thing which was printed here is this line, right? Because I opened the file and I read only 1 line from this file. Just 1 line. Okay, if I read it, if I copy paste this again, so this will read the second line. Let's try it again now. Now you see here, this is the file for storing date, student data. Sarah score 90 because I wrote inside it. Now that was also showing, and this is how we read the whole file, with just 2 commands. Now if you have multiple information, multiple lines, let's create something. Let's create a file. Okay, let's do it in this way. We write the full times table of 2. Okay, we write it inside the file, and then we read and print that file. I think that should be a good example. So let's create that. We call it build the 2 by 2 times table. So 2 by the 2 times table, and store it in a file, and then read the file and print. Okay, so I create a new file. I call it times table, and I open the file. Which file? The times underscore table file, and I'm going to write now the times table. Now how do I write the times table? I have to write, it is the 2 times table, right? So I have to start with 2 times, so something like this. I have to make it 2 times 1 equal to, for example, 2 times 1 is equal to 2, right? So I need the for loop, right? Because I need to go from 1 to 12, right? So I will create a loop, and I will say for I equal to 1 to 12. Okay, and I put my next I here before I forget that. Now I need to build this, right? So what do? I can create a variable called my txt equal to, and I have to make it like this, 2 times plus this variable my I, right? So this will be, and I have to make it as a str. I will cast it as str because I don't want to act as a an integer. So 2 times that whatever this number is. Okay, and again I say plus equal to, now it should be equal to 2 times the whatever this number is, right? So I have to calculate that. So let's do it like this. I create another variable called result, and I make it like 2 times I, right? Because it's a 2 times table, so 2 times whatever this number is, right? And I'm storing it as result, and I'm going to call it str of the results. Okay, so my txt is a variable which I'm building it, right? Which is a string of 2x space plus str of I. I is what? I is that counter, right? So it is 1 in the first run. It's going to be 1, so it will be 2x1 equal to str of result. Result in the first run of this loop will be 2 multiplied by I, which is 1, so it will be 2. So here I have generated the data that I'm going to write inside the file, right? So I created the file, I opened the file, right? Now I'm going to write inside the file. So I'm going to call my file dot write line, and what do I want to write line? I'm going to send my txt. You see here, now I just pass my variable my txt, this one. I'm not putting it in double quote. I'm not putting any static writing like the one we did it before, right? Like these ones. These are static data, but this is a dynamic data. I'm writing it, writing my variable there. And this is the end. So next now after this loop finishes, the for loop finishes, now I need to close the file. So I will call my underscore file dot close, open close, and I can remove this, I can remove this. Now here I'm going to open the file and read the file. Okay, now this is times table now. Let me open the times table, timestable.txt. Let it be with just 2 lines and see how it works. Okay, so this loop goes and creates the times table and it writes it inside the file. This part of the program does not generate any prints on the screen, so we don't see anything. The only thing which generates print on the screen is this part. So it creates this part only generates the data inside and writes it inside the file. Then we are opening the file and reading and printing the first 2 lines of this file. Let's run it now. There is a problem on line number 8. Let me see. There is a mistake somewhere here, so it is this. Oh yeah, so I have put a comma, which is wrong. I have to put a plus because I'm concatenating the strings together. Okay, now let's run this now. Okay, so the program ran. Okay, it created this file and it is printing these 2 lines. 2 times 1 equal to 2. 2 times 2 equal to 4. Right now I want to print the whole file. Right, I don't want to go ahead and I can do it like this, right? I can copy paste this wherever, right? But imagine that I have thousands of lines and this is not the way to do it. So to do it properly, we need to create a loop, right? I need to create a loop to start reading from the file, okay, until we reach to the end of the file. So I create, so this is a condition loop because we don't know how many lines we have to read from this file. We don't know exactly. So I can create a while loop, while my file, so this is my file 2 because this is my handler now, dot end of file, end of file. Now you see that it became purple because now I spell it properly. So while my file dot end of file is not reached, so I have to say not reached to this end of file, print my file 2 dot read line, and this is the end while. And then after that, at the end, I'm going to close the file. Okay, now let's run this. There we go. So it created the file and it printed all the contents of that file. So this loop actually went from 1 to 12. You see that 1 all the way to 12, right? And these strings that you see here, these are all written in this file, inside the file, and they are being printed here. So this line here, it says while you have not reached to the end of my file, not my file 2 dot end of file. While you have not reached the end of file, do this. Print what? Print my file 2 dot read line. So go read line. Are you reached to the end of the file? No. Again and again and again until you reach to the end of the file. When you reach to the end of the file, then it will exit from the loop and it closes the file. So this is a very good example of how exactly we are dealing with files. Let's do another example because I know files are not something that's comfortable for many of the students I have seen. Let's go. I think we have this one. A shop assistant records 3 customer notes. Ask the user for 3 short notes. Save them to a file with write line. Then reopen the file and print each note using loop win end of life. This is exactly what we did already. So, but it needs to get input from the user, right? So it is saying 3 notes. So I can use a for loop, right? Because it's exactly, I know it's just 3 of them, right? So I create a for loop for I equal to 1, 2, 3. What to do now? I need to get input from the user, right? It's called note. So note equal to input. Please enter short note, right? Okay. And when I get that, I have to save them in the file, right, with read line. Okay, with write line. So before getting this input, it's better I create my file first, right? So I create this file, new file, and we call it short, we call it notes, right? That's better, notes.txt. okay, and I'm going to open this file, and I'm using file as a handler. File equal to open, what to open, this one, this to open, node.txt. okay, so file is my handler now. It is, this file is created, the file is now opened, the file which we just created. Now I'm going to call the file with write line, right? And what do I need to write in the file? I have to write that the note, right? That's it. I just need to write that note. Save them in a file with write line, and that's it, right? And I can put the next I here, next I. Then reopen the file and print each note using a loop with end of the file. With end of the file. Okay, so I need for, so whenever you need to use end of file, remember it, you have to use the while loop, and you have to use while, not end of the file. So first of all, we have to open again the file, okay, with another handler. First of all, I have to close the file. I forgot to close the file. File.close. okay, now again I do a file open, so I'm going to be very lazy and I'm going to copy paste this directly here. File.open, file open the notes.txt. now I'm going to use a while not file.end of file. okay, do this. What to do? Print, exactly, and print what? File.read line. Open and close, done. And then I'm going to say end while. We can be clever and add something here also. So instead of writing only the note, okay, we can be clever and do note equal to we say note plus str of I, so it will print like note 1 then the note, so it will be nicer, I think, plus note. Okay, so let's try it in this way. So the note that I'm printing here, I'm changing that note, so I'm adding a note space then this number, and I'm converting it to the str, and I'm adding again to concatenate it with the note itself, so whatever it is. Okay, before running, let me add also one more space here to make it nicer. I put a column to make it nicer, plus this. Okay, now let's run. So it says please enter the short note. So I say this is customer notes, right? I want veg pizza. Now again it says enter the short note, so this is the second time it is running. It says I want chili sandwich. Next one I say Mr. Jack asked to have his ice cream in his car, right? These are just notes. Done. Okay, now it says note 1, I want a veg pizza. Note 2, I want a chili sandwich. And note 3, Mr. Jack, right? So this is exactly work as we were expecting. So we created a loop here. We get user inputs, this input that, you know, I want a veg pizza, for example, here, right? And I created the notes, right, with adding this note, then this variable, this number, right? So 1, 2, 3. So this is the dynamic one, and I converted to the string. Then I added also a column, and I added whatever the note was, right? So I updated the note and I wrote it in the file. this part is done, then I open the file and I created a loop, right, while not reaching to the end of the file, read the line and print it. So it will read the line and print it, which has done this. So this is the information that we have written actually inside the file. So if we had access to the file on the server that is running, behind this code station, we could see actually this file created as a notes.txt, and we could see the this information was written inside it. But those files quickly get vanished, so we are not. We have to use only the interface. Okay, so I think we did quite good examples of files, so you should have some good understanding that how to deal with files. So it is very similar to just printing, right? But you just do a write line. And always remember, if you are creating a file, new file, create a new file using these commands, the new file, and then open the file. So always, if you don't have a file, create the file, use the new file, then open the file, file.open. You open the file, then you can read or write inside it. In the OCR word of language is pseudocoding, you can just open the file. In real world, you have to, whenever you are opening the file, for example, if you are doing coding with Python, whenever you are opening the file, you have to say, I'm going to open this file for reading or writing or appending. So it is a little bit different. But over here, it's just very simple. We just say open the file. So you open the file, and then you can do a read line or write line. And at the end, you have to remember that we have to close the file. Don't be like me forgetting that, putting this, not putting it here. So always remember, at the end of the codes that you are writing, always try to put the file.close to make it clean and nice. Alright, so that was about the files, and I will see you in next lesson.